Today we gather to celebrate 12 youth and their fearless adult leaders who, thanks to a grant from the Minnesota Conference UCC, lots of hard work fundraising on each of their parts, and the support of this congregation and especially their parents and leaders, as they spent a week in North Carolina living out God's call to love and justice for all creation. They'll share more about their experience and where they found God in the midst of it, and I hope you'll stick around after worship because they have some stories to tell.
Hi, my name is Sam Gertheis. I was one of the co-chairs on this year's mission trip, and this is my reflection that I wrote before I got on the plane to come back. From the perspective of a now four-time mission trip participant, I have been overjoyed with the amount of passion for our work and faith that we as a group have found at the Johns River Valley Camp. The moment I first looked at the website, called the director, Reverend Curly Stum, and heard him say the word howdy, I knew this trip was going to be amazing. Although I didn't choose a word to base my thoughts on throughout the week, I assumed I would find a common theme in the natural world. Even better, I'd broaden my own spirituality. I was able to spend each day surrounded by amazing sights, amazing views, and even more amazing people. I want to thank Mac Plymouth for helping me become the person I am, helping me to find my place in this world, provide me with mentorship, and accept me as a regular member. I am glad to have spent my last year doing what I love with whom I love.
Hello, my name is Caleb Tracy. I wrote this while I was on the mission trip. On the second work day at Johns River Valley Camp, half the mission trip group went to the nature reserve on Grandfather Mountain, located in southern Appalachia. At the reserve, we worked on digging out gravel and transporting it to spread alongside a freshly laid road to prevent rain damage. After about an hour and a half of work, which otherwise would have preoccupied the rangers on the site that were already understaffed from doing their work, we took a 0.4 mile hike up Grandfather Mountain. At the very top, we could see the road and the gravel we put down in the nature center. At that time, it started raining, and by the time that we got down the mountain, the rain was so heavy you could barely see out the windshield. Because our group finished the roadside support so early, we likely saved the road from being damaged, and in that case saved precious time the rangers would have spent fixing the road and putting down gravel instead of taking care of the mountain sites and the animals they look after. Thank you.
Rosalie and I wrote this while driving to the airport, but she is not here, so I'll be reading all of it. Thursday, we worked with Emma at RAM, which is Resort Area Ministry Thrift Shop. During the day, our task was to help out by sorting new donations, adding them to the racks, and organizing different sections of the store. RAM Thrift Store is a nonprofit organization that donates their money to people in need, like battered women. We both were very successful at busying ourselves by doing small tasks and also taking on bigger projects in the store. The challenge was the other volunteers from the campsite that were refusing to work. We were trying to engage them by asking for help, but they would just say no. Although it was disheartening to see that kind of behavior, it was the first time either of us have experienced it. This struck us because we realized to some of the other campers they were not as serious as us and didn't understand why we were there. However, we powered through this, and after lunch we took on the entire kids section of the store, which was quite the project. It was tiring and satisfying work, but it was also good walking away from work knowing that we increased the sales for the shop, which helped the people in need.
Hi, I'm Ben Bushnell. I was another one of the co-chairs on this year's mission trip. I thought my head was kind of all over the place when I wrote my reflection on the way to the airport, so I wrote a different one. This year was my last mission trip here at MPUC. In North Carolina, I found myself thinking about how the many places I've been and many hours of work I've done have changed me. I found the answer in the rest of the group. In our nightly roses and thorns ceremony, a single thread stood out. For much of our group, the highlight of their day was related to the work they did. There were days when 5 or 6 consecutive thorns were that we could have done more. In my eyes, that genuine longing to contribute embodies the spirit of the mission trip. It's everything that I want myself and my friends here to take away from the trip. That drive to work was something that this group brought to the trip rather than took away. In my 4 mission trips, I have never been with a group as united in their vision for what we were there to do. I was and continue to be inspired by this group. We worked with groups from North Carolina and Indiana, and there was a much wider age range than I've ever seen on a work trip. People in our group quickly became leaders in our commitment to the work in a way that I only see growing as years go on. I'm excited to see what this group will do in the years to come, and I thank all of them in preparing me to go into the world with a commitment to serve. Thank you.
Last summer, after the Chicago trip, I said I was retiring from mission trips. Over Christmas, I knew Corinne was still looking for adults, so I told her if she needed a 4th person and absolutely couldn't find one, maybe I would consider it. So by April, I was on board for my 8th mission trip. But truly, I'm extremely glad I went. All trips are a little bit different, but this one, it was a lot of ways. Different in the work we did, different in the people at the camp we worked with, the people we worked for, but primarily different in the sense of accomplishment and truly doing something useful. The group often has meaningful discussions about what is mission work, who are we helping, why are we doing it, to whom is it useful. But this year, as Ben said, actually, since you rewrote yours, I actually should rewrite mine, but this year it was clear. I think everyone had that feeling. As you listen to them speak, remember, and it's summer and kind of early for them, but I hope you can get their sense of excitement, enthusiasm, and fulfillment with this trip. Listen to their stories. I have Minnie too, the bear habitat, spending the entire day at the thrift store just sorting men's pants. Entire day. Driving this crazy 45-minute, one-lane, twisty, up the mountain and back down gravel road to Boone every day, which I hope helps explain the slightly embarrassing picture. But really, I want to talk about our youth instead of the stuff that I did. And I have a T-shirt that says, "Embarrassing my children, just another service I provide." So today I'm going to embarrass you guys a little bit, but it's all good, trust me. As Ben said, the other kids at the camp were younger, mostly middle school, and with their need for constant direction, attention, and lack of focus. They were a handful at times, but our youth stepped up, and they were really, in a lot of ways, the role models that we kind of pray our kids will always become. I've never been prouder of the entire group than I was with this group. They didn't boss the kids around or nag them. Okay, they whined a little bit, but then so did we. They simply accepted the tasks that were given with such enthusiasm, dedication, and graciousness that the younger kids were mostly inspired to want to follow them and do the right thing. It was amazing. Their ability to inspire others to their beliefs and goals during the trip is one of the true qualities, I think, of a leader. The adults with the other groups noticed this too. They really could not have praised our children more or spoken more highly of our youth. They absolutely loved them and pretty much begged us to come back there again. It was a very good trip. All of this really is a sign of a very successful mission trip.
My name is not Stephanie Hulander. Stephanie couldn't be with us this morning, so I'm reading a reflection that she wrote during the experience. And I just want to preface this with being in North Carolina, we were exposed to a slightly different accent than what we have on a regular basis here in Minnesota. So whether or not the youth choose to read the beginning of each of their reflections, most of them start with a "Hey y'all," because that's how we greeted everyone at the camp this summer. So from Stephanie Hulander, "Hey y'all. So because this mission trip is coming to an end today, I'd like to blog about something we discussed during our final worship. Where we saw God this week. To me, this was a broad question with many answers, because of the spiritual nature of a mission trip combined with the many new experiences I'd had this week. When I really reflected on the week, however, I could clearly think of 2 moments I felt a strong connection to God. One was during a night hike, Sam's idea, where we were able to enjoy the beautiful clear sky away from the city and go stargazing. But the spiritual moment itself was when we sang songs in the pitch darkness, because while you could hardly see your own hand in front of your face, I felt the most connected as a large group. Another moment I saw God was on our drive up to Grandfather Mountain. As we drove up the winding mountain roads, the trees on the sides of the road dissipated into overlooks, which we stood out on and looked at the incredible scenery around us. The mountain peaks and seemingly never-ending forests spanned as far as I could see. It was this awe-inspiring scenery that really made me feel a strong spiritual connection because it was, and yes, this is very cliche, as though I was standing a little closer to God. These moments really reflect the nature of our trip this year, both finding God in each other and the beautiful nature around us. Thanks for listening. Stephanie.
Len Jensen is another member of the trip who couldn't make it today, and his did not start with, "Hey, y'all," because that's just not Len's style. But his reflection is, the North Carolina mission trip was one that allowed me to do the work of God by working to clean a heavily polluted river, which became polluted through heavy mining, thereby greatly affecting the quality of life of the local residents. Through interactions with other more local groups were tense, though interactions with other more local groups were tense at first, tensions soon cooled, allowing for a greater amount of work to be done as a large group together. What also allowed for this was the kind-hearted staff at the camp and striving for the collective purpose of cleaning this river. To explain, each of the groups, all the kids on one day went on a canoe trip through various rivers in the forests and parks around there, and basically stopped wherever you could and picked up trash. And some days we got a couple garbage bagfuls. One day we got 7 canoes packed to the brim of, parts from washing machines and big hunks of metal, tires. How many tires did you guys pick up? 5 tires in one stretch of river. So going on with Len's. Furthermore, it allowed me for the first time in ages to focus on one specific task completely and to do said task well. After the week of working, talking, paddling deep river rapids backwards, his canoe did that, I felt a sense of accomplishment knowing that through these small actions, the local environment and the lives of the local residents, we both repaired and hopefully improved respectively.
Hey y'all. I'm Emma Manderfield and I'll be reading my reflection from the mission trip. Today was our free day, which means we didn't work, but it was still a very successful day. Although we didn't work, our bond as a group grew stronger. We went to a beautiful waterfall, and at that waterfall we took multiple hikes. Our first hike was with the whole group, and we hiked to the middle of the waterfall. At that spot we took in the beauty of God's creation, and of course we took multiple pictures. Our second hike was to the top of the waterfall. That was really cool because it gave us a different perspective of it. It was so beautiful, but in different ways. Our last hike was to the bottom of the waterfall. The hike down was hard and strenuous, but in the end, it was totally worth it. We got to see every point of the waterfall, and although it was the same waterfall on each hike, a different perspective brought a new beauty to it. We enjoyed multiple laughs as well as good conversations. Although those little laughs and conversations might not have been spiritual or deep, they were all significant in some way to grow our group closer. I also loved getting closer with everyone around me and valued the relationships I made with the people from North Carolina.